Alright, so Monster Truck Madness is an old game from the late 90s. Created by Terminal Reality and published by Microsoft. I think Monster Truck Madness 1, the same is true, but the great thing about these games was that you could make totally custom tracks and custom trucks. The truck I'm driving right now is a custom HD version of Boogie Van. The track I'm driving is my old track, Cryptic Mountains. All custom textures and everything made by me. All the textures are all seamless. You can't see any lines between them. As you drive up here, you know, no lines, nothing like that. They all flow seamlessly from one to another. So what I want to show you today is how to create your own seamless custom textures, and then how to kind of implement them inside of Traxx. So let's get started. Hey! Alright. So the tutorial we will be following is from the Monster Truck Madness Guild, MTM2.com. Then you can find the Monster Truck Madness Guild, and this is under the Traxx stuff here, textures. No, let's see. It's MTMG textures, and then what? Templates? What is this? Maybe custom? No. Look at all this nice custom stuff. What are we doing? They teach you everything on Monster Truck Madness Guild. But I was getting a little stuck on something. Photoshop seamless textures. Okay, each of these has like a pop-up. MTMG, textures, Photoshop, seamless textures. So ObeOne typed up this beautiful guide of a technique that I showed him once upon a time for use in Monster Truck Madness. ObeOne goes through how to create some textures. He's got a grass and a dirt, and how to create a pattern out of that, and then how to make it the right size so that Traxx, the track editing program that we all use, will cut it up in a nice way for you so that everything turns out to be seamless. You know, I know all these things, having taught them to ObeOne, but the copy-paste into Traxx is not working for me for whatever reason. A person named Fuzzy created a utility called Nice Slice. This is also nice. It takes in square images that are multiple of 60 by 60, and it'll slice up all your textures for you. I wasn't able to get this to work to make my textures seamless. It makes each individual texture seamless with itself, but it doesn't seem to work with patterns for me. So I had to remind myself how to copy paste all of these textures from a grid so that they're all seamless when you open them up in Monster Truck Madness, and that's what I'm going to explain to you. So check out this tutorial by ObeOne for the initial stuff that you want to do, and then I'll show you how to copy everything into you know, how to save everything so that it works in Monster Truck Madness too. So I'm using Gimp. Gimp is free. You can search Gimp on Google or whatever your favorite search engine is and download it on Windows. It is an open source version of Photoshop that was originally made for Linux, but they have the Windows version now. So I'm opening up all my stuff here. I've got all my stuff saved in a folder. I'm going to be using this red kind of marbled texture, which is a seamless texture tile that I made already. ObeOne talks about how to make individual tiles seamless like this. You can follow that guide. and I'm opening my grass tile here. Both of these textures, the red marbled one and the grass one here, they're 60 by 60. So that's what we're going to base all of our Monster Truck Madness textures on. 60 by 60 kind of pixelated textures like this. Just showing you here, boom, it's a 60 by 60 image. RGB is fine for now, like you don't have to mess with the file format and stuff like that. So what I want to explain is how do you get from something like these two tiles to something you can cut up into a pattern like the following guy here. And I have all my guides and stuff that I'll show you. But eventually you make patterns like this to use in Traxx. You can have Traxx cover your hillside with this red stuff and cover all the valleys with the green grass. And I'll show you how that stuff kind of works. So how do you get from your two 60 by 60s to something like this that you can cut up and jam into Traxx for use in your Traxx? Let's see how we do it. So I have my 60 by 60 tiles, but that's not exactly what Monster Truck Madness understands. Monster Truck Madness takes 64 by 64 tiles, so it beefs this thing up around the edges by 2 pixels on each edge, and then it has some sort of system for overlapping your tiles that I'm going to explain here. So because each of our tiles, our 60 by 60 guys are going to, or our 64 by 64 guys are going to overlap 2 pixels on each edge, I want to do a 3 by 3 grid of tiles like you see here. And I'm going to need 2 pixels on the left edge because Monster Truck Madness requires that. So that'll be like my top left tile. And then I'll need 2 pixels on the right edge. Same for top and bottom for my my other tiles here. And so in all, I'm going to have 3 by 3. That would normally be 180 by 180. I got to add the 2 pixels on the left, right, top, and bottom. So I'm going to make a new file. Let's see, new. I'm going to make 184 by 184 pixels so that I have the pixels on the left, right, top, and bottom that I need. Remember, I'm pasting in 60 by 60s here. I'm tiling them in, so I'll show you how all that stuff comes into play. But right now I have my 184 by 184 image. And in order to paint this guy in here, you copy. So edit, copy, or Control C. Go back to your empty guy here. You can use the paint bucket tool to fill it in. Make sure you choose pattern fill. You find your clipboard image in here and select that. And then just click fill. I said that grass guy tiles perfectly with itself, so when you come look in here, you don't see any like harsh lines. Maybe there are some light ones, but I've done my best to like make it pretty seamless. Okay, so what is Monster Truck Madness seeing? Like, how can I explain this to you? This is a 184 by 184 image. And we got it out of tiling 60 by 60 textures. What is Monster Truck Madness seeing as far as I understand? Let's build a little grid that'll help illustrate it. So you want to make sure your rulers are showing. So you go View up here. You go Show Rulers. Control-Shift-R also works for that. So that'll show these little rulers here. You also want to show your guides. I don't want to snap to my guides, but I do want to show my guides. Control-Shift-T for those guys. And let's put our guides in. So I know I'm going to want 2 pixels on the left here. I'm looking down here to see where that 2 was. You see? There's a 2 on the left number down here. And then I'm going to carry on. So from the 2, I've got to go over 60. That is over to 62. You can see on the bottom left there, it's going to go up to 62 and stop. Oop, did I mess it up? That's good. And then you're going to go over to add 60 to that. So I'm going over to 122 and stop. And then I'm going to go 60 more from that up to 182 and stop. Boom. So there I have, in between each of these blue dotted lines, I have width 60. I need to do the same thing from the top. So start with the 2 pixels you need for your overlap up top. Then go down 60 from that, so 62 is your next one. Go down 60 from that. 122 is your next one. Go down 62 from that. 182 is your final one. And then we have 2 pixels up top for overlap, 2 pixels down below for overlap. And this blue 3x3 grid is made of 60 by 60 tiles. And is a 180 by 180 grid. And we have the extra stuff around the edges, 2 pixels around each edge that we need. All right, so what does Monster Truck Madness see? Before we start getting into how to make this stuff, what is Monster Truck Madness doing? To see that and to set up for our copy paste we're gonna do later, go to your rectangle selection tool, have it be a fixed size here, go to size and make it 64 by 64. You're going to be copying 64 by 64 squares into new files and saving those to put into Monster Truck Madness. And now that we have all this stuff tiled out, there's a couple things we can notice. If I select this top left 64 by 64 corner, it's interesting to notice the following things. So these left pixels that are in between the blue and the white stuff here, these left 2 pixels here, comparing with what's showing up over on the right here, they're the same as the left 2 pixels on the left side of the blue line here. So the left 2 pixels here on the left side of the blue line are the same as the left 2 pixels on the left side of the blue line here. What does that come down to, essentially? If I copy this 64 by 64 top left corner tile that I have selected, it's the same as if I come over to the middle tile here, leave 2 pixels on either side, and copy that. So like, because this 60 by 60 tile texture tiles, the 60 by 60 texture tiles, when I tile it in from the top left corner, every 64 by 64 guy that I select here will be the same as any other. Monster Truck Madness will be happy because the 2 pixels on the left of this blue line are the same as the 2 pixels on the left of that blue line. The 2 pixels on the top of the blue line are the same as the 2 pixels on the top of the blue line. And that works as long as you select things so that you have that 2 pixel overlap on each side of those 60 by 60 pixels, textures, excuse me. So that's what Monster Truck Madness cares about. And when you go about building your patterns like this, that's how you're going to copy paste everything out. You start with your top left corner and you make sure snap to guides is turned off. So you start with your top left corner, getting 2 pixel overlap outside of each of those blue bins, and you just work your way across. So number 1, your number 2 is going to have 2 pixels on either side, like so, and you're going to work your way out. That's what Monster Truck Madness likes, those 2 pixel overlaps. And if you do it in that way, you'll get seamless textures. Okay, so how do you build your pattern like this once you've got everything tiled in? You started with your 60 by 60. You filled your stuff out here. You built your grid like I explained. We're going to do the same for the next layer of red stuff. So let's copy this marbled, salmon stuff in here. Make sure nothing's selected. Use your fill tool, your clipboard image, fill it up, boom. And what are the things you need to be careful about to make your pattern so that it's good in Traxx? You need to be careful that you go from the corner of the blue to each corner here. So what am I saying? We want to cut out the corner here so we can make some kind of like nice octagon like this. So you start at the corner of the blue like so. You kind of use your lasso tool to select something. Make sure you end up at the left corner of the blue as well. And select all this stuff. Boom. Hit delete. And you end up with something like that. Why do we need the pink stuff to go from corner to corner? It's because these diagonal pieces you may have many diagonals in a row that then you want to fill with this stuff in between. If you're not from corner to corner, this little corner is going to poke out of your diagonal piece coming along your textures. So you want to make sure you hit each blue corner on here, like so. Going along the top bit, you start at the corner again with your lasso tool. Oops. With your lasso tool. Start at that little corner of the blue. And draw your little cutout in here. Go to the next corner of the blue. Boom. Hit delete. And carry on all the way around. Alright, so far here's what we have. These two pieces. Here's what we're aiming for in the end. Something like that. Alright, so I was showing my son this, and he said that the transition just looks too harsh. It looks too phony. So if you wanted to fix the transition between the light salmon and the green, what do you do for that? You can grab your eraser tool, grab a nice big brush, and you can just kind of like come in toward the middle here and like do a little bit of this business to make the transition a bit softer. So it eats into the red, it leaves a bit of the green. Leave the corner sections alone, which are important, and you can come eat away in here a little bit too, and so on. That'll make your transitions a little smoother, make it look a little bit more natural, and that's what I've done here. So you work your way all the way around this thing, making sure to be careful that at the corner here you make it all the way up to the corner and all the way down away from the corner so that none of the middle stuff pokes out when you're using Traxx. Alright, so finally, once you've made your pattern, how do you copy paste everything out so that it'll be seamless? As I said before, Traxx can cut these things up for you. The issue I'm having with Traxx is the following. So what Traxx wants is it wants a 8-bit uncompressed bitmap image. And from Photoshop back in the day, the way you would make that is you go image mode, indexed. I want a 256 color palette. So 2 to the 8th is 256 colors. So you generate your palette here, you click convert. It looks a bit bad. I also lost all my beautiful transitions and stuff. Ooh, ouch. You go edit. You want to select everything. So Control A selects everything. Edit. Copy visible. I've tried merging stuff and whatever else. And you open up your Traxx. And once upon a time in Traxx you could go view texture transitions. What am I doing? View textures, and you could just click on the paste. So paste a composite here. Boom. For me, it tells me that the bitmap must be uncompressed 8-bit. I've looked up uncompressed 8-bit in Gimp, and I'm stuck here. So if anybody can help me with that, would be great. Would save a lot of time. If you are able to copy out your thing as an uncompressed 8-bit, you'll be able to paste it in here and tell Traxx how to cut it up. Sadly for me, I can't. So here's what you have to do otherwise. Don't convert to indexed and stuff like that, like I had just done. So that totally messed up all my beautiful transitions and everything. So I'm gonna undo. There I go. I have my nice greedy transitions back. How do you do it by hand? This is what we want to show here. So we take our pattern that we just made here, and we need to copy out 64 by 64 textures from it. So make sure that you're not snapping to your guide, which makes you miserable. Make sure that your rectangle selection box is fixed size 64 by 64. Start at the top left corner and notice that you're getting 2 pixels of overlap everywhere. So top like from your blue box, which is what Monster Truck Madness is going to show you, you're getting 2 pixels of overlap on each side. And those 2 pixels of overlap, how can I say? They'll work out right so that Monster Truck Madness matches them up in a nice way. So you take your top left corner, you edit, you copy visible. You can use the shortcut Shift-Control-C, and then to make a new file, you go Create from Clipboard, Control-Shift-V, boom. There's my top left corner, 64 by 64 tile. And you work your way across doing that. So you go here, next guy, boom, Control-Shift-Copy, edit, copy visible, and then you make your new Control-Shift-V, there it is, boom. And you carry on, get the top right corner, that looks good, edit, copy visible, Control-Shift-V. So it's not too bad, it's a bit slow, but it's okay to do by hand if you're really determined. Edit, copy visible, Control-Shift-V, work your way around. The center texture is perfectly for you. As the 2 left pixels here, match the 2 pixels above, or anything else in line, 2 right pixels, match the 2 right above, and so on. This texture will also tie with itself. As the 2 left, the pixels that are left of this blue line here, match the 2 pixels that are left of the blue line. That's what Monster Truck sees. The 2 pixels on the top of the blue line will match the 2 pixels on the top of the blue line, and so on. So that's what Monster Truck was. Copy that, paste it up, and you just work it around. Almost done. Okay, what's the one thing we're missing? We have this nice pattern. If we want to use it in Traxx here, texture transitions is where we're going to use it. We're going to put our pattern in here. We have the pattern, the 3x3 pattern goes here. What do we need for this texture here? Well, all the outer stuff. We need the grass. How do you get the grass texture out of here? Well, hide this layer and copy the top left corner. So any of these 64 by 64 guys are all the same. So like the top left corner is the same as the middle if I leave 2 pixels on either side of that blue box. And all of those guys tile with themselves. They'll match up with the guys we just made as long as we choose the same type of selection as we had before. So let's just take the top left corner for ease. We copy visible, I guess. Make a new texture, and there's your grass. So now you've got your marbled texture, which tiles with itself. It's 64 by 64. You got your grass texture, which tiles with itself. And you've got all your pieces of your pattern. They don't tile with themselves, but any of the ones that should match up, like if any of the one that this diagonal will match up, for example, with this one, because the grasses come together like that, and they come together in a V. So like things you would expect to match up will match up. All right, so there you go. You got your grass, you got your marble, and then you've got all your pieces. I'll tell you how to save them, and then I will tell you how to convert them to raw to import them into Traxx. I showed you how to cut everything up, make all your little 64 by 64 tiles. That'll be part of your pattern, including the background tile you need. You hide this, copy that top left corner, make your background. Going from there, how should you save this stuff up and convert it to the file format that Monster Truck Madness understands? Well, start with your top left corner. This is the guy that you're going to save first. You need to, in Gimp nowadays, you have to export. So export, Control-Shift-E is the shortcut there. Export as, oh boy. Oh no, where do I want to put it? Let's save it here. And we will call all these things, I think I was calling it CAELIM1. So I don't want to save it as XCF, but I want to save it as a PNG file here. So I'm saving it as PNG, which is good. Export, you don't have to worry about this stuff. Export, and then you just work your way through. So that was number 1. and looking at your pattern here, I like to number my stuff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like so. So this guy's going to be tool, file, export as, find your, boom. Oh, I put CIU. Oh well. CIU, change this to a 2, PNG, export it out, export, and then just work your way all the way across here. Eventually you'll have 9 guys and then a 10th for your grass stuff. And what do you do with those files once you've made them all? So let's see here. In my Monster Truck Madness tool stuff, I saved all my textures here. I got all my stuff. It's already done, but let's look at the PNG files here. Let's see. All my PNG files are the image files here. I don't know why their things aren't there. Should be CAA limb. That's my guys I made. I have 1 through 9 here. The grass I'm not showing here. But once you've made all your PNG files, how do you get them to be raws and the associated stuff that you need? Well, you can open up this tool by Dummies Man. It's called triraw. Where do you get that thing from? Well, you go to 4x4evolution.net here. This is a great site for keeping 4x4 Evolution alive. That's the next iteration of Monster Truck Madness. So 4x4 Evolution's like Monster Truck Madness 3. Evo 2 is Monster Truck Madness 4. They're a lot of fun. You can find them for download here and play those games if you want. Monster Truck Madness 2 stuff is here as well. But if you go to their modding tools and you look for triraw by Dummies Man, this thing will convert PNGs, TGAs, JPGs, etc. to raw files, the stuff that you need to bring into the game, and it'll take old raw files and convert it back for you if you want. So we're going to use it to take our PNGs to raw stuff that 4x4 Evo understands. You can download this, totally safe, totally good. And how do you use it to do your textures? Well, all you have to do is select all the textures you want to convert to raw, drag them over here, boom, open with triraw, bam. It opens up terminal, the Windows, whatever the Windows terminal is called. It converts all the stuff, and then you come back over here and you can see that your klim image file became a raw, an ACT, and an OPA. Alright, so your ACT, OPA, and raw file are there for each of the PNGs that you had saved. Alright, and so now that you have all those raw files, you can open up Traxx. Traxx you can get from the MTM guild over here. So Traxx, boom, let me see. What do they have here? Where do you find Traxx? Maybe you gotta, whoop. Maybe you've got to go to the main site and click Traxx. This takes you to the copy of the original Traxx webpage by Guitar Bill, and Traxx is now freeware, so you can download it and you can use it. So download it, doesn't need any kind of compatibility stuff or anything. Once you have it all, you just unzip your folder and you open up your program here, boom. I think I've already got it open. You open up your Traxx, it looks like this, and you can import your textures. How do you do that? I had to switch my texture folder. Right now I switched it to where all my textures are saved. Normally it's going to be in the same folder as your track stuff. So if you're doing all this texture creation, it's best to just do it in the Traxx art folder. So that's the normal one that's saved here. But I did all my textures in this different folder. That shouldn't be too confusing. And then you go to your textures here, you go load, and you find all the stuff you just made here. I'm going to load my grass in first. Whatever the first texture is that you load in. That's the one that textures the whole ground. And then you take your pattern you just made and you bring the stuff in. So boom, just go in order of the way you numbered them. Notice here that they look pretty ugly. That's because Traxx is working off of just kind of like a basic 8-bit color palette like this. You can have Traxx create a new color palette based on the textures you're using. So boom, create a new palette for me. There it is. It changed all of that crazy RBG stuff into this nice stuff that's just coming from my textures. Click OK, and now you can see that sort of matches what we had made better. If you click refresh on your texture window, they all match now too. And where do you go from here? I'm going to show you quickly how to use these textures to sort of like texture hills in an easy way. So if you've got Traxx here, you can go view or special. You can make some random terrain. Just use whatever they want. You can change your max hill height. I like mine super high. You can make your valleys go as low as you want. You can have different random seeds here that's your bitmap of your height and your lows. So boom, whatever we choose, Traxx is gonna make this nice thing, a little bit like Minecraft, but smooth Minecraft. So now we have all these hills and valleys. And how do we use our textures in a nice way? You go to your texture transitions, the special texture transitions. You take your pattern you just made and you put each guy in individually like so. And then what goes here, your grass does. That's what's filling in the outside. This stuff is filling in the inside. And the threshold altitude is where this pattern is going to stop. The grass will fill down to 0 based on this, and the red stuff will fill up to 255. If you have multiple versions of this pattern, you can start with mud down at the bottom or sand down at the bottom, then grass, then the red stuff, then grass again if you want, and snow, and you adjust all that with the threshold altitude and what you're filling up to and down to. But just to show how this goes, hit apply and notice all of our hilltops now have grass on them, or excuse me, that red marbled stuff on them. If we zoom in a bit and examine the corners, notice you don't see those 2 pixels that were overlapping on our textures here. It just goes straight to the corner, and then Traxx already overlaps them like you want to. So it's hard to tell whether there are seams or not in Traxx because of the wireframe. Maybe you can turn the wireframe off. I don't remember. But anyway, these things should be seamless based on our method. One other thing to examine or that I was talking about was when these diagonal pieces come together here, the whole reason you wanted to go to the corner was because you're going to have that middle texture here in the middle, and you don't want it poking out of the corner. So, like, let's see here. There, it's not the best, but it's going to work fine. If you make your corner a bit sharper than I did, then you won't get that little poke out there. At the same time, all this stuff away from the corner is going to be super seamless. So there you go. That's how you make your pattern for doing these texture transitions in Traxx, and that's how you save all the files so that they'll be seamless in the main game. If you watch this tutorial and try it out, let me know in the comments. Be great to hear from you, and if it doesn't turn out seamless or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments too, and I'd be happy to try and help. I hope that you play lots of Monster Truck Madness and have fun making stuff, and I will catch you on the next one.